stick it out till the end. Now that it's raining more than ever, know that we still have each other. You can stand under my umbrella.
Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, I'll be teaching you guys how to draft a monostrap off-shoulder bustier blouse. If you're interested, keep on watching and let's get started. So I already folded my pattern paper into two and I'll start by taking my points. The first point is the distance from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my under bust point, which is 13 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my waistline, which is 16 inches. And the last point is the length of my blouse, which is going to be 18 inches. I'll go ahead and rule straight lines across all these points. After doing that, I'm going to label my bust point, which is 10 inches, my under bust point, which is 13 inches, my waist point, which is 16 inches, and my top length, which is 18 inches. The next thing I'll do is to take half of my shoulder measurements and I'm placing my tape on the center front. Half of my shoulder measurement is 8 inches. I'm going to indicate the 8 inches with a dot. On that 8 inches mark, I'll go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope and then I'll slant from that point into the neckline area. Next thing I'll do is to get my chest line. To get my chest line, I'm going to place my tape like this and I'll take my round armhole circumference divided by 2. So my round armhole circumference is 16 inches. 16 divided by 2 is 8 inches. I'm going to mark 8 inches just like you see me doing and I'll rule a straight line across. That line is going to serve as my chest line. Another way you can get your chest line is to go up by 2 inches from your bust point. My bust point is 10 inches. Once I go up by 2 inches from my bust point, it's going to give me 8 inches. So I'm going to connect from the shoulder slope in a straight line to meet the 8 inches mark, which is my chest line. After doing that, I'll place my tape on this straight line right here and I'll divide what I have into 2 equal halves. So what I have is 7 inches. Half of 7 inches is 3.5 inches. I indicated the 3.5 inches with a dot. On that 3.5 inches, I came inward by half an inch and I also indicated the half an inch with a dot. The next thing I'll do is to place my tape on the chest line and I'm going to take my bust circumference divided by 4. So my bust circumference divided by 4 is 9 inches. I placed the 9 inches. After doing that, I'm going to go ahead and connect from the shoulder slope to meet the half an inch that I came in with and from there to meet the dot that I have on the chest line, just like this. The next thing I'll do is to take my neckline measurement. So for the width, I'll be using 3.5 inches. And for the depth also, I'll be using 3.5 inches. So it depends on how open you want the neckline area to be. So after doing that, I'm going to go ahead and use my ruler to connect both dots like this. The next thing I'll do is to take my dart. To do that, I'm going to place half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. My nipple to nipple measurement is 8 inches. Half of it is 4 inches. I'm going to add half an inch to that measurement for stitching allowance. So I'm going to mark 4.5 inches on the bust line, on the under bust line, on the waistline, and on the top length. And I'm going to connect all the dots into a straight line like this. After doing that, guys, I'm going to transfer all the measurement that I have on this side of the pattern paper to the other side because we are trying to get a full scale body. So everything that I have on this left hand side, I'm going to transfer to the right side of my pattern paper. So what I'm going to do is to extend my lines, that is my bust line, my under bust line, my waistline, and the length of my top, and I'll go ahead and also label it so I don't get confused. After doing that, I'll go ahead and start repeating the measurement that I took on the other side. So the first thing I'll do is to take half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. I'll indicate that with a dot. On that 8 inches mark, I'm going to go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope and I'm going to slant into the neckline area. The next thing I will do is to place half of my round armhole measurement, which is 8 inches. I'm going to mark the 8 inches, and I'll also mark the 8 inches like this so I get a straight line. After doing that, I'm going to rule a straight line across the 8 inches mark. So I'm going to place my tape on the center like this and make sure that what I have there is 8 inches. After doing that, I'll rule a straight line across, and then I'm going to connect from the shoulder slope to meet the 8 inches mark in a straight line. The next thing I'll do is to place my tape on this straight line right here, and I'm going to divide what I have into 2 equal halves. What I have is 7 inches. Half of 7 inches is 3.5 inches. I'll indicate that. After doing that, I'm going to place my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. I will indicate that. From that point, I'm going to use my ruler to connect from the shoulder slope to meet the half an inch, and from there to meet the dot that I have on the chest line. The next thing I'll do is to take my neckline measurement, which I used 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. After doing that, I'm going to use my ruler to connect. Next thing I'll do is to take in my dart. So I'm going to take half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. I'll add half inch to that measurement. So I'm taking 4.5 inches on the bust line, on the under bust line, on the waistline, and on the top length. And I'm going to go ahead and connect all the dots into a straight line. So guys, I've successfully transferred everything that I have on the left hand side of this pattern paper to the right side of this pattern paper. And once I open it up, this is what I have. We have our full scale body. So I'm going to go ahead and label the left hand side and the right hand side because I'll be needing it later. The next thing I'll do is to take in my dart. So on the under bust line, I'm going to take 1 inch on both sides of this straight line. If you're on a bigger side, please take 1.5 inches on both sides of the straight line. On the base of my top, which is also going to serve as my waistline, I'm going to take half an inch on both sides of the straight line. After doing that, I'm going to use my ruler to connect like this. The next thing I'll do is to go down on the bust line by 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to place my tape like this, and I'll go down by 1 inch. I'll indicate the 1 inch with a dot. After doing that, I'm going to use my ruler to connect in a curve from that 1 inch to meet my under bust line, just like you see me doing. So I came down by 1 inch to avoid any sharp curve on the posterior area. So after connecting like this, guys, I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side of this pattern paper. So on my under bust line, I'm going out by 1 inch on both sides of this straight line, and on the waistline, which is the base of my top, I'm going to take half an inch on both sides. So like I said before, if you're on a bigger side on the under bust line, take 1.5 inches. Okay, after doing that, I'm going to go ahead and connect like this. After connecting, I'm just going to leave this for now. I'll complete it later. So for the other part that has a shoulder, we are going to create our bustier. So what I'll do is to place my tape on the curve that I have on this armhole area, just like you see me doing. What I have there is about 8¼ inch. So I'm going to divide it into 2. So whatever it gives me, I'm going to place on the armhole area. So I'll place my tape like this, and I'm going to mark it using my marker. I'll indicate that with a dot. So this is the center of the armhole. After indicating that part with a dot, I'm going to now use my curved ruler to connect from that center to meet the point that I have on the bust line. After connecting, guys, this is what I have. The next thing I'm going to do is to go out by 1 inch. So you can take 0.5 inches on both sides of this curve, but I just want to take 1 inch on the down part of this curve. Okay, after doing that, I'm going to connect it back into the curve. Okay, so I'll connect it like this. Like I said, you can take half an inch on both sides of this curve. So after connecting, this is what I have. So the 1 inch that I'm going to take out for this dart, I'm now going to replace it just so I don't run short of fabric. So I'm going to place my tape on this new dart leg and I'll come out by 1 inch. Okay, just so after joining the two sides, everything is going to match. I'm not going to have any shortage of fabric. After doing that, I'll extend the dart leg to meet the 1 inch, just like you see me doing. So we have a new armhole. I'm just going to connect from there to meet the previous armhole. So I'm going to cancel this other one. We don't need that one anymore. This is the one we are going to be using. So I'm going to cancel the former armhole just so I don't get confused. So guys, the next thing I'll do for the other side is to go up from the armhole area by half an inch. So if you're on a bigger side, go up by 1 inch. So I'll go up by half an inch and I'll indicate the half an inch with a dot. After doing that, guys, I'm going to connect from the center of this neckline to meet that half an inch. So I'll connect like this. After doing that, I'm going to extend my dart leg to meet this curve. The next thing I'll do is to go down on the bust point just like we did for the other side. I'll go down from the bust point by 1 inch. I'll indicate the 1 inch with a dot. After doing that, I'm going to use the curved part of my ruler to connect from the under bust to meet the 1 inch. Okay, so just make sure whatever you are doing is not too sharp and then it's not too straight. Okay, if you don't have a curved ruler, you can go ahead and use your free hand. After connecting, this is what I have. The next thing I'm going to do is to tighten my over bust. So what I'll do is to take 0.75 inches on both sides of the dart leg. If you're on a bigger side, just take 1 inch on both sides. After taking out my darts, I'm going to go ahead and go up from the bust point by 1 inch. Okay, this is to avoid any sharp edge. I'll go up and indicate the 1 inch with a dot. After doing that, I'm going to connect the 0.5 inches to meet the 1 inch that I just came up with. Okay, so I'll connect like this. When connecting, make sure it's not a straight line. I had to readjust mine. After connecting in a straight line, I realized that it's not going to give me what I want. So I went in again using the curved part of my ruler just to give me that curvy effect. So go ahead and blend from the under bust point, okay, to meet the bust point. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to go up by half an inch. So the reason I'm going up by half an inch on this side of the bustier is because I want everything to meet up by the time I'm done sewing. So I'm going in with the curved part of my ruler just to give me the effect that I want. So this half an inch will make the two sides of the bustier to be equal. So I'm going to measure it and explain to you guys what I'm trying to achieve. So most times when you join the bustier together, you realize that one part of it is short and the other part of it is longer, and most times the part that is shorter is the part on the side front. So that is why I increased that part by half an inch. So what I'll do is to slant from that half an inch to meet my chest line, just like you see me doing. After doing that, I'm just going to measure for you guys to see. So the bustier on this part is 3 inches and on this part it ended at 2.5 inches. So once I measure it to meet the half an inch that I just took, you see that we have 3 inches. So once I join them together, the two of them is going to meet up. You can see after measuring it, what I have is 3 inches. So it's now equal. After doing that, the next thing I'll do is to start placing my measurements. I already have my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. So note that I'm taking the measurement from the center of this pattern paper. I went ahead to add 2 inches to that measurement for my stitching allowance. On the under bust line, I'm going to place my under bust circumference divided by 4. I'll replace the dart of 2 inches that I have there, and I'll go ahead and add 2 inches for my stitching allowance. On the waistline, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll replace my dart of 1.5 inches, and I'll add 2 inches for stitching allowance. After doing that, I'm going to connect the dots together just like you see me doing. Okay, so I'm going to take the same measurement, all the measurement that I have on this part, I'll replace it on this other part. Okay, so I'm going to place what I have on the bust part on this other bust part, what I have on the under bust part, and what I have on the waistline. After placing the measurements, I'm going to use my ruler to connect like this. After connecting, this is what I have. I will extend the line to meet this slant that I have on the armhole area. So guys, pay close attention so you know where to cut. After cutting, guys, this is what I have. So once you join, you see that everything is going to meet up. So let's go ahead and draft out the back. So the back is very simple. It's our regular back bodice. The first thing I'll do is to take out my zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. I'll mark my zipper allowance. I'll connect into a straight line like this. After doing that, I'll go ahead and start taking my point. So the distance from my shoulder to my bust point is 10 inches. Distance from my shoulder to my waistline is 16 inches. That is all the points that I'll be needing. My top length is 18 inches. My pattern paper is already 18 inches. So I'll go ahead and roll a straight line across the points. I have my bust points, I have my waistline, and my top length. The next thing I'll do is to take half of my shoulder measurement. Note that I'm taking this measurement immediately after my zipper allowance. I'll go down by 1 inch from my shoulder slope, and I'll slant from that point into the neckline area. The next thing I'm going to do is to place half of my round armhole measurement, which is 8 inches. So I'm trying to get my chest line. I'll mark the 8 inches. After doing that, I'm going to go ahead and confirm that I have the 8 inches on that point. I'm going to use my marker to indicate the 8 inches. After doing that, I'll roll a straight line across it. So another way to get your chest line is to go up by 2 inches from your bust line. After doing that, I'm going to connect from my shoulder slope to make the 8 inches mark like this. The next thing I'm going to do is to place my tape on this straight line right here, and I'm going to divide what I have by 2. So what I have is 7 inches. Half of 7 inches is 3.5 inches. I'll indicate the 3.5 inches. After doing that, I'm going to place my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line, and I'll go ahead and add my stitching allowance to that measurement. The next thing I'll do is to use my ruler to connect from the center of this armhole to meet the dot that I have on the chest line like this. The next thing I'll do is to take my neckline measurement. So we're still using the same measurement that we used for the front, 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. After taking the measurements, I'm going to connect using my ruler like this. The next thing I'll do is to take my dart. So I'm going to place half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. I'll place the 4 inches on the top length, on the waistline, and on the bust point. After doing that, I'm going to connect the dots into a straight line. The next thing I'll do is to go down from my bust point by 1 inch. I'll indicate the 1 inch with a dot. After doing that, I'm going to take half an inch on both sides of the straight line. So if you're on a bigger side, you can take 1 inch on both sides of the straight line. After doing that, I'm going to use my ruler to connect from the top length to meet the dot that I have below the bust line like this. After taking in my dart, the next thing I'll do is to place my waist circumference divided by 4 on the top length. I'll replace the dart of 1 inch and I'll add my stitching allowance. After doing that, I'm going to connect from the bust point to meet my top length like this. So guys, next now do is to adjust the zip area. So I already have 1.5 inches as my zipper allowance. I'm going to take out half an inch to avoid zip bulge. After taking out the half an inch, I'm going to connect from the half an inch like this. After doing that, guys, this is what I have. The next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and notch my dart, because I'm not transferring what I have on this side to the other side. I'm trying to save time, and besides we have the zipper allowance on one side. So I went ahead to cut the zipper allowance and I trimmed my armhole. So I don't think you should trim your armhole first. You should open everything up. You can see that I'm trying to join my zipper allowance back. So just open everything up. Don't trim the zipper allowance, don't trim the armhole. Once you open it up, label your left and your right just like we did for the front. And I'm going to bring back my front piece. I'm placing left on the left side. You guys can see left is on left, and I'm going to place the other part of the pattern paper so I know where I'm cutting out. So I'm cutting on the right side of this pattern paper. Okay, so after doing that, I'm going to take out the front pattern paper and I'm going to now go down on the left, because we are cutting the left out. So I said you should not trim your armhole, so go up on the armhole area by 1 inch. I already trimmed mine, so I'm just trying to salvage the situation. So go up by 1 inch from your armhole area and then slant to meet the other side of the neckline. This is what we did for the front. So if you went up by half an inch on the front armhole, go up by half an inch. If you went up by 1 inch, go up by 1 inch. For me, I went up by half an inch on the armhole area for the front, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out. So after doing that, I'm going to open up my zipper allowance, and this is what I have. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pin my zipper allowance in place. After pinning my zipper allowance, I'll pin the front width just so you see how it's going to look. Okay, so when cutting, you have to be careful with this pattern paper. Make sure you add half an inch to all the sides of your pattern paper. So guys, these are all the patterns that you'll be needing for this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, leave your questions in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.